The reason I'm showing this broken blow dryer is that when you're moving, things just go wrong, even on the day that the movers come. And yeah, my blow dryer broke this morning. I'm leaving my apartment here in Tokyo after 8 years and moving back to the States. In the last few years since I started my YouTube channel, I've developed a pretty large stationery fountain pen and ink collection. I'm going to take you through the process of shipping my stuff to the States. This is the absolute disaster my room was as I got started. The companion video to this will be in October when I receive my shipment and put it back into the new house we move into. The B-roll will be my packing process, along with clips of my neighborhood, about a 5-minute walking distance around my apartment. The first thing I needed to do was decide what I was going to pack and ship, what I was going to put in my suitcase, and what I was going to put in my carry-on. This is my Hobonichi kind of not quite daily journal, and I put stuff in here, and I don't really want to lose the work that I put into it, so this is something I'm not going to pack. This will go in my carry-on. And then I use my traveler's notebook for trips that I take. So again, same thing, I'm going to want to not pack this. My friends in our Tokyo Pen Club very generously gifted me the traveler's notebook that's the Tokyo special, like all the stuff, all the notebooks and all the accessories. So I was going to make this my traveler's notebook for my trip from Japan to the States and all the stuff that I do with it. While I assemble this, I'll explain to you the thought process I had on making my choices. When you make this kind of large trans-Pacific move, you'll be using a moving company. You'll need to list all your high-value items, and they would prefer that you not ship small high-value items as they may be easily pilferable. So I'll have a small jewelry case that I'll have on my carry-on. Well, there have been whole shipments that have disappeared. That hasn't happened very often, but I'll need to decide what pens of mine I consider high value and that I'll pack up and take with me as a carry-on, and what I'll leave behind to be shipped by the company. I'll also need to decide what are sentimental items that I'll want to take with me on a carry-on. This was surprisingly stressful. I kept kind of trying to decide and then wandering off and playing with my pens instead. What I'm doing here is I don't like the knot that's in the back of a traveler's notebook, so I'm just making another hole at the spine and then putting the knot through there. So I decided I'm going to have 2 carry-ons, a backpack, and then just like a little duffel bag. And in my backpack, I'll have my high value, what I consider my high value and sentimental fountain pens. And then on my little duffel bag, I'll probably just have things like my Hobonichi and any of the kind of journals and stuff that I don't want to lose. The shipment through the moving company will take 3 to 4 months to arrive at our new home. And so I have to also decide what am I going to take that's going to last me the next 3 or 4 months. I've decided that all ink is off the table. I'm not going to bring bottles of ink clanking around in my suitcase. I'm going to the DC Pen Show and the Osaka Stationery Fair, so I'm sure I'll be able to load up on ink there. So I'll probably take like maybe 8 inked up pens. And you're probably thinking, 8? Really? But at this point in time now, I can't really figure out if that's like not very many ink pens or a lot. And as a travel tip, I'd like to bring up that I've never had a pen massively leak on a flight, and I've flown a lot. I used to be an airline pilot. It could be I'm just lucky, but many times when I do fly with pens, I end up getting inky fingers from them. And the reason why is there's ink in the feed, and maybe through pressure changes or you just bumping your bag around, a little bit of the ink slings out sometimes out of the feed and gets inside the cap, and then later kind of gets on the section. So sometimes when I'm back from flying, I'll get some ink on my fingers because there's a little bit of ink on the section. And so I just regularly go through and just clean out the inside of the caps and the sections after I fly. And then next, I'm going to stick my traveler's notebook in this little superior labor bag. I was really not into those bags before, but they're just pretty cute. So in goes my traveler's notebook, and then like a little folder, a traveler's folder that you can hold like brochures and little scraps before you actually put them in your journal. And then some pens, and that's all going to go in my duffel bag for a carry-on. I'm definitely taking a lot more than I would just traveling someplace. But remember, I don't get any of my stuff until like October. So I'll be without a lot of my stationery items. So I'm kind of packing for that too. But sitting in my hotel room now, I think I brought way too much stuff. And since I'm only bringing 8 inked up pens, I'd had a lot of pens I needed to clean up. We had one day for a mini shipment that was going by air, and it's mainly kitchen things, and it'll show up in about 6 weeks or so after we get to the States. So we piled it all on our dining room table. I had intended to cull through my pens and inks and journals to sell some, but I ran out of time, so I ended up just packing a box of things to give to the members of the Honolulu Pen Club, my old pen club. They were my first pen club and really a lifeline. If you're in an area that doesn't have a pen club, or maybe you just don't know about it, you can ask around like on Fountain Pen Network. And if there isn't one in your area, you can start one. Here in Tokyo, I belong to our English-speaking pen club, and I'm pretty excited about going to DC and joining the club out there. After this, I'll be packing up some stationery things to put into my suitcase. That's one of the things you have to do when you're preparing for movers, is to figure out what you're going to take with you and then put them aside. Otherwise, the movers will pack it up. I've had movers pack up a garbage can with garbage in it, and already sitting in my hotel room now, I know I accidentally let the movers pack up some things that belong to my apartment complex and not to me. And now I'm packing up some inks for a friend because I'll be meeting him at the DC Pen Show, but my stuff won't arrive until October, so I'll need to pack it in my suitcase. So as you prepare for the movers, you have to make the decisions on what's high value, what's sentimental you're going to have on your carry-on, what you need in the next few months that you can afford to lose possibly, that would be in your check bags, and then the stuff that you're going to pack away with the movers, and that you won't see for like 3 or 4 months. Here's a perfect example of having to take something that I really won't need to use, but I need it within the next 3 or 4 months. And it's these pulp and paper samples for my next video about washi paper. I can't afford to wait for it for 3 months, so I've got to bring it along in my suitcase. Here's a glass pen that I'll be sending to Kate from Bennu Pens. I couldn't figure out how to economically mail it to her. We were both on Apple Boom Bites together, and she found out that I had not owned a Bennu pen before, so she sent me this Hawk's Eye, and it's just gorgeous. So I'll be sending her a rose quartz glass pen, but isn't this pretty? Drew from Goulet Pens and I connect on Godzilla, and since I'll be going to the DC Pen Show before I get my shipment, I'll be putting his gift inside my suitcase. I mainly like Godzilla because a high school friend's boyfriend used to play Godzilla here in Japan. And of course, I got Godzilla socks for myself at the Godzilla store. Okay, so now came the hard part, how to determine what pens I was going to pack and put into my carry-on backpack. These are supposed to be either my high-value pens or pens with sentimental value. And let me tell you, I just have no idea how I was supposed to choose. Because high value could mean the actual cost, or the fact that maybe you can't replace the pen easily. I mean, a special edition you may not be able to ever get again, or a particular vintage pen you might not be able to get. So after making a few false attempts at trying to make a decision, I just ended up taking a couple of my favorite pens from each level of the pen boxes that I had. It was pretty random. Here I'm just taking all my available soft pen cases and rolls and just stuffing pens in there willy-nilly. If you look closely at the table, there's a couple Murexes and Muse. I bought some extra ones to give away on a video that I'm working on about Pilot's history, so that should be coming out sometimes this fall. And then I wrapped up some of my specialty nibs in a little bit of tissue paper and put it in this tin here. And then I loaded up my stationery things to include like washi tape and my journals into my duffel bag. By the way, don't cut your hair with stationery scissors. I tried that in the hotel room and now I look like a Muppet. And then I packed up all the little soft cases of my fountain pens into my backpack. And then we put our suitcases and our carry-ons into a designated closet, along with stuff that belonged to our apartment that we didn't want the packers to pack, and just told them to leave that closet alone. And next I need to tackle all my glassware. Japanese packers are excellent, but even saying that, I think it's best to pack all my glass pens in their original boxes, and luckily I saved them. Here's a glass pen that's made to look like boba tea. As I said, Japanese packers are excellent, and I ended up putting a lot of trust into the one guy that was assigned to my craft room to pack up all my inks and pens and stuff. I pre-wrapped all my glassware and glass pens, and then I made sure like all my ink bottles, they were tightened down and inside their boxes if I still had their boxes. And then I was going to put the ink bottles like in Ziploc bags or something like that. But the guy came in and he was very confident. He said, just leave it up to me. I pack really well. And he didn't even want me in the room. I mean, he spent a full day on just that one room and he hustled all day. My main worry wasn't that, I'd have a broken bottle of ink and I'd lose the ink. It's just that ink would dump all over like the rest of my stuff in the shipment. So with that in mind, since I can't quite screw this top on and there's just so much ink that's going to end up in my stuff, I ended up giving this bottle away because I just didn't want a chance having purple clothes or whatever. So to break the move down, we had one very small air shipment that was mainly kitchen things that will get to our new home in about 6 weeks. Then the rest of our stuff will be shipped by boat, and it will take about 3 to 4 months to get to our new home. That pack out took 2 days. We ended up having just under 200 items in boxes. I really don't have a bunch of ink. I ended up having 4 boxes of inks, 9 boxes of general stationery, and 3 boxes of notebooks. I was actually shocked about how much masking tape I had. I had a whole box of it. But the funniest thing was I had 2 boxes of empty boxes, and those were all the boxes to my pens. I didn't have any boxes to pack up this last little bit of glass, so I just left it out for him. And the next clip shows the condition of the room I left for that guy to do all that packing. So the packers came for the shipment, and it's amazing how quickly your house starts to look like a madhouse when you're getting packed out. Japanese packers are just really professional. They lined the walkway to the door and then covered the door with a little bit of cardboard to protect it. And then they take their shoes off before they come into your house, and you can see the shoes out there. And then they stacked all their stuff away neatly for the next day to resume packing. After they finished each cabinet, they would tape it shut so that they knew they were finished with it. And then I walked through the house at the end there, and we untaped each one and checked to make sure they were empty. Somehow I still managed to forget something. And then this is my craft room after everything is emptied out. For parting comments, what is something I won't miss about living in Japan? I won't miss their absolute obsession with bidet toilets. This one is always constantly spraying something down into the water, even though I don't use the bidet part, and it sounds like it's going to launch me off into space. But some of the things that I will miss is the Japanese people embracing weirdness. This is the Henna Hotel, or the Weird Hotel, and you check in with these little robot guys. The original one had a T-Rex. I'll miss their attention to detail. Here's a little bear holding a coffee bean on top of coffee ice cream. And I'll miss how quiet everything is associated with mass transportation. Here I surreptitiously filmed my local subway station during the very busiest time of rush hour. And I will absolutely miss the crazy elderly people that push around their dogs in specialty-made carriages. This typically enrages Americans when they see this, but these people just don't care. As a matter of fact, the lady that owns these dogs insisted that I hold them. It's gotten so popular that the owner of this dog is a young foreign couple. Of course, I'll be posting other videos, but I'll be posting the companion to this one sometimes in October while I'll unwrap my stuff and put it away. And to my friends here in Tokyo, it's not goodbye, it's see you later.